Hello woo. Welcome our channel. We'll explain anything and everything so we can learn together. So, let's see what I can cook up for you today.
1. The Fall of a Golden Boy. In 2015, California basically watched justice face plant when Stanford's golden boy swimmer, Brock Turner, got caught assaulting an unconscious woman behind a dumpster. The victim, known then as Emily Doe, woke up in a hospital with zero memory of what happened, only injuries that proved everything she didn't remember. Turner tried to argue it was consensual, which is wild considering she wasn't even conscious. Meanwhile, the witnesses straight up told police Turner bolted the moment he got caught. When the trial came, Judge Aaron Persky practically wrapped Turner in bubble wrap, claiming a longer sentence would severely impact his future. The man got 6 months, but walked free after 3. 3 months for a life he permanently damaged. The world exploded. The victim's statement went viral. Persky was literally voted out of his job, and the case became the poster child for privilege in the justice system. The verdict never changed. Turner moved to Ohio as a registered sex offender. The victim eventually revealed herself as Chanel Miller, becoming a powerful voice for survivors everywhere. 2. Money and freedom. In 2013, a car had pulled over on the side of the road for repairs when a pickup truck suddenly slammed into it at high speed, killing 4 people instantly. The driver who caused the crash was just 16 years old and heavily intoxicated. His name was Ethan Couch. Today, he still walks relatively freely outside the law, forever tied to one infamous word used in his defense: affluenza. The impact was so violent that it didn't just take 4 innocent lives, it left another teenager permanently injured. And yet, when Ethan Couch stood before the court, the judgment was that he needed rehabilitation, not prison. That ruling gave birth to a new infamous interpretation of the word affluenza, basically the idea that a rich kid could be immune to the law. Couch walked away without jail time, receiving only probation and a stay at a luxury treatment center that cost more than many people make in an entire year. Today, he lives under supervision and occasionally resurfaces in the news, always for reasons no one finds admirable. 3. Dear Mom. Florida in 2008. 2-year-old Kaylee Anthony goes missing, and her mother, Casey Anthony, waits 31 days before reporting it. When Kaylee's remains are found months later, the case explodes into nationwide outrage. During the entire period her daughter was missing, Casey was out partying, getting a Bella Vita tattoo, and living as if nothing was wrong. In court, she cried and denied everything. What many saw as a cold, indifferent mother was reframed by her defense as a story of a loving mother overwhelmed by fear and helplessness after losing her child. The evidence was mostly circumstantial, and because of that, the jury declared Casey not guilty of murder. The trial ended. No retrial, no additional charges. She was punished only for lying to the police. Today, she lives quietly in Florida, occasionally giving interviews where she insists she's innocent. 4. Who's the killer? Imagine you're studying abroad in Italy, living with your roommate, and one random day you walk into a scene straight out of a horror movie. That's exactly what happened in 2007 when British student Meredith Kirker was found dead in her apartment in Perugia. And instantly, every media spotlight snapped onto one person: Amanda Knox, the American roommate. Italian police claimed Knox and her boyfriend Raffaele Solicito staged the scene. The media, they went wild painting Knox as a femme fatale, a cold, seductive killer straight out of a noir movie. But while the world was too busy throwing stones, something else started leaking through. The forensics were. A total mess. Contaminated DNA, smudged fingerprints, hours of coerced statements, a timeline tangled up like a plate of spaghetti. And then came a new name, Rudy Gede. His DNA was literally all over the scene with a criminal record and no solid alibi. He eventually became the one convicted of Meredith's murder. But Knox, her story was a legal roller coaster, first convicted, then acquitted, then convicted again, then acquitted again by the Italian Supreme Court. A case with more plot twists than an entire crime thriller series. 5. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Los Angeles in 1994. A quiet night. Until it wasn't. Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman are found brutally murdered outside Nicole's home. No witnesses. No warning. Just a crime scene straight out of a nightmare. And just hours later, every clue, blood, DNA, history of violence starts pointing to one man, O.J. Simpson. He is a football legend, movie star, and America's golden boy. O.J. was found, jumps into a white Ford Bronco, and takes the entire country on the most iconic slow speed chase in history. 98 million people watching with one question. Did O.J. do it? Everything screams O.J. Investigators find O.J.'s blood at the scene. The victim's blood in O.J.'s car. A rare Bruno Magli shoe print. A bloody glove at the crime scene. Its matching pair behind O.J.'s house. It's the kind of evidence police dream of. But this case? It's about to melt down. The LAPD problem. This was right after the Rodney King riots. The LAPD was drowning in accusations of corruption and racism. And then, one of the key detectives, Mark Foreman, gets exposed using racial slurs on tape. Just like that, the case flips. O.J.'s lawyers don't argue he's innocent. They argue the police can't be trusted. The Dream Team. O.J. brings in the Avengers of legal defense. Johnny Cochran, Alan Dershowitz, F. Lee Bailey, Robert Shapiro, and yes, Robert Kardashian. They don't attack the victims. They attack the system. DNA? Tampered. Blood samples? Mishandled. Cops? Racist. Everything becomes a question mark. True crime history. Then comes the scene that rewrites true crime history. O.J. tries on the bloody gloves found at the crime scene. He stretches his fingers, shakes his head. The gloves look too tight. And Cochran drops the line that killed the prosecution's case. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. A rhyme that saved a life. The verdict. After a year of chaos, it takes the jury just 4 hours. Not guilty. Cheers erupt in some neighborhoods. Shock hits others. America splits in half by race, by belief, by trust in the police. But freedom doesn't mean O.J. is off the hook forever. In civil court, where the bar of proof is lower, O.J. is found liable for both deaths. He's ordered to pay over $33 million. Then, in 2007, he gets arrested again, this time for armed robbery in Las Vegas. No Dream Team. No Cochran. No miracle rhyme. He's sentenced to 33 years and serves 9. And finally, he dies in 2024. 6. Stand your ground. Florida, 2012. A 17-year-old kid is just walking home with a bag of Skittles and an iced tea. Minutes later, he's lying face down in the grass with a bullet in his chest. His name, Trayvon Martin. And the shooter, George Zimmerman. A neighborhood watch wannabe with a gun and way too much confidence. And that night, America didn't just break into debate. It exploded. Zimmerman spots Traven and decides he looks suspicious. Also said he was black, in the wrong neighborhood, at the wrong time. Zimmerman calls 911, says he's following the kid. And the dispatcher said, "Sir, don't do that." And Zimmerman proceeds to do exactly that. No cameras. Just panic. Screams. And then bang. Traven drops. Zimmerman claims self-defense. Prosecutors clap back. You chased him. You started this. But here comes the legal plot armor. Stand your ground law. If you feel threatened, you can shoot first and explain later. The jury bought his story. And Zimmerman walked free. A teenager died, and the law basically shrugged. The verdict? Instant national rage. Streets filled with protesters. Skittles turned into a symbol of injustice. And a movement Black Lives Matter ignited into wildfire. Zimmerman never faced another trial. Instead, he literally auctioned the murder weapon like some twisted collector's item. Traven's parents are still fighting for justice, still asking the same question the country refuses to answer. How much is a black kid's life worth in America? And that question still hangs in the Florida heat right where Traven fell. 7. La Manada. Pamplona, Spain. San Fermin Festival, the famous running of the bulls. But the real predators weren't in the streets. They were inside an apartment lobby. A girl 18 years old gets dragged into a building by 5 men. They surround her. They record everything. They share the videos in a group chat proudly named La Manada, the Wolf Pack. Everyone thinks this is textbook gang rape. But when the case hits court in 2018, the judges go, "Well, we don't see proof she fought back. So, not rape, just sexual abuse." This made Spain exploded. In the courtroom, their lawyers had one disgusting strategy. No scratches. No brucesso, she must have agreed. They ignored reality. When you're cornered, terrified, frozen in shock, your body shuts down. But the old Spanish law said, to be legally called rape, there must be violence or threats captured clearly. No punches? No screams on tape. So the court decided to downgrade the crime. 9 years each. Spain hit the streets. Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, everywhere. Thousands chanting. Not abuse. It's rape. This wasn't just a protest. This was a national scream. The law failed her. After 2 years of rage, appeals, and endless legal battles, Spain's Supreme Court finally did what should have been obvious on day one. All 5 convicted of rape. Sentences increased to 15 years each. The public pressure worked, and Spain rewrote its entire sexual assault law. No more analyzing bruises. No more, "Why didn't she fight?" arguments. No more loopholes for monsters. The survivor remains anonymous because the world never deserved her face. But La Manada. Their name is now global code for legal injustice turned into legal reform. 8. The Golden Face. Canada. A country known for kindness, respect, and equality. But this case? There was nothing kind about it. Gian Gomeshi, the national radio star, the golden face of CBC. He famous with everyone. And then, a string of women came forward, accusing him of sexual violence, choking, slapping, hitting, all during what were supposed to be normal dates. He claimed it was rough consensual sex. They liked it that way. Canada held its breath, waiting for justice. But the verdict came back. Not guilty. All 6 charges dropped. The reaction from Canadians? Not just disappointment. More like a bucket of ice-cold water thrown at their faith in justice. 3 brave women testified under oath. "I was assaulted. I never consented. But Gomeshi's defense hit back hard. You still emailed him afterward, right? Your memories don't match on some details, do they? So maybe it was consensual after all. The court clung to every tiny inconsistency in memory things that are totally normal for a traumatized victim. Fuzzy memories, changing details, even emails sent out of fear, shame, or confusion. But the law? The law was cold and unforgiving. The judge said, I believe some violence may have happened, but the Crown didn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. So Gomeshi walked free, head held high, half smile on his face. The victims? Their credibility destroyed, called liars. The unspoken message roared loud, make a woman doubt herself and her nightmare becomes nothing. Public outrage spilled out into the streets. Women's shelters slammed their doors. People marched, chanted, we believe the victims. Gomeshi's career? Shattered. He disappeared from media like he never existed. But the law? It still let him go. This case became one of the early sparks that later fueled #MeToCanada. It forced a reckoning, demands for reforms in sexual assault trials, more trust for survivors, accountability for perpetrators. 9. Betrayed. Boston, early 2000s. A city of history of faith of churches. But behind closed doors in those same churches, something rotten was festering for decades. Children, innocents, and abused. According to reports, a priest named John Geohan abused over 100, maybe as many as 130 children repeatedly, over years. Instead of being arrested, he was quietly moved from parish to parish. Hidden, protected, as if the institution was shielding him, not punishing him. When the scandal finally blew up, when investigative journalists exposed the rot, people thought this was it. The church, the leaders, they'd pay. But the truth? It stung worse than any confession. Victims came forward. Names hidden, faces blurred, voices trembling. They spoke of abuse, of trust broken. They described betrayal by men in robes. But what did the system do? Laws, loopholes, statutes of limitation. Church records destroyed or lost. Silent transfers, relocation. Hush money, anything but justice. Some cases were dropped. Others never filed. Many priests walked free, their reputations intact, because the proof wasn't solid enough, because decades-old claims were now, he said, she said. The world was angry. Victims demanded acknowledgement. The faithful demanded transparency. The survivors demanded justice. Compensation funds opened. But for many victims, it's too late. The scandal remains a stain, and many of these stories have since been turned into books. 10. Fame and money. Massachusetts, 2013. One night, a man leaves a club. A few hours later, he's dead. Police point their finger at a famer, Aaron Hernandez. Young, handsome, and an NFL superstar. At this moment, people kept saying, wait, Hernandez? No way. He's a hero. Inside the courtroom, the jury didn't see a superstar. They saw evidence. Violence. Patterns that didn't look like accidents. Verdict came down. Guilty. Life in prison. And then the darkest twist. Prison cell, 2017. Hernandez takes his own life. Some said he was battling it in trauma. Others whispered about secrets he spent his whole life burying. Pressure. Anger. Paranoia. Fame that turns into a cage. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and share it with your friends. And let us know in the comments, which of these facts blew your mind the most? See you in the next episode.